We're back at it. It's
We're
5 o'clock
back.
somewhere, but it's more like it's 7 a.m. somewhere.
It's 7 a.m. somewhere, but it is 5 o'clock at some point somewhere. I'd have to look to see where it is 5 o'clock right now.
Well, it's 4 o'clock here, so Dubai, maybe?
Let's see.
You're pulling up.
Um, can't see anything. Oh,
Right? In
5
Dubai?
a.m. in Anchorage, Alaska.
There you go. Well, we're here today. We're going to be talking about what inventory is looking like at dealership lots today, what we heard at NADA, Mike, what you've been hearing from the field, specifically how data helps move out inventory, CDPs, obviously VIN-specific marketing as well. So, Mike, I'm going to hand it over to you. Tell us what you heard leading up to NADA and on the floor.
Yeah, I mean, I would say first of all, NADA. Holy cow, that was a lot. It was first of all, there was a lot of people. We were in the what I call the innovation hall, which was great, and the innovation hall was pumping. I think one of the unique things about NADA this year was, and you know, a lot of people have said this, is that over the last 2 or 3 years, a lot of people haven't had to do too much marketing, meaning they either had not that much inventory and too many leads. So they were kind of, you know, taking orders. But a lot of people, when we're having conversations with them now, are getting back into the mix of really diving into the marketing, which was very evident in the conversations that we were having. How are people leveraging first party data? How are people pushing out, you know, inventory? And one of the big topics that, you know, we were talking about was because of what is happening when we went from no inventory to now we have excess inventory, in particular on EVs as well, is, you know, the expense on the floor plan is going up much higher than it was previously.
Yeah, and so dealers have to make sure that they're moving that inventory off so that they're actually making money. They don't have frozen capital on their lots. Um, what are some of the concern? Well, and we just talked about the concerns, but what are some of the strategies people are talking about? I know obviously VIN specific marketing is really big in the market now, but is it going beyond that? Are we talking about data strategies? Are we talking about predictions, analytics, implementing those systems and strategies actually at the dealership so that they can move that capital quicker?
Yeah, I would say that first of all, if you take a step back and if you look at advertising as a whole, right? When you look at your advertising, let's say you spend $10,000 a month. Of that 10,000, I'm going to be running my core campaigns. Brand, dealer near me, new, used, inventory, parts, service. So you have that budget. Most of the time when you're digital advertising, your core models are going to eat up majority of your budget. Or if you're heavy on brand or you're not, there's always the debate: do I do do I do brand? Do I not do brand? But that doesn't account for all vehicles in your inventory. If you had to spend to get the amount of, you know, impression share out for every single vehicle that you have in your inventory, you'd have to spend a considerable amount. So a lot of
Yeah.
people are really focusing in on the VIN specific, meaning if I take in a car on trade, if it's an EV. I was talking with one dealer who has 193 Mach-E's, and he's a single point Ford store. And if you can imagine, you know, how long that is, there's a debate on EVs and, you know, all that stuff. But, you know, what we're talking with our dealers out about is kind of two core things. One is because on the CDP side, one of the unique things that we can do, because we're a CDP in automotive, is that we can tie shoppers to VINs. Okay, and what that gives you the ability to
Right.
do is actually see how many shoppers are associated with that VIN. Meaning, if I look at a piece of inventory, let's say I'm trying to move we'll go back to the Mach-E as an example. I can look at the Mach-E, and instead of saying, "Wow, I have, you know, 300 VDP views on this Mach-E," now I can say I have 300 VDP views, and I also have 220 shoppers, meaning they're known entities that have been resolved in the CDP that are associated with that. Now, what that allows us to do is then isolate spend specifically down to that VIN, and also within our email platform, audience activation, we can then push that VIN up into the emails that we know if people are shopping on the site. we can push that as similar vehicles. So there's a few different ways that we can approach it, but it's very top of mind to dealers. We're having conversations with them every day. So I'd say it's more of a blended approach versus just doing the VIN-specific advertising. I would say VIN-specific advertising is a portion of the overall strategy that we're seeing.
Yeah, I agree. And one thing I think it's important to pull out from that is when you talk about audiences, it's not just about, oh, let me look at that 222 shoppers like you mentioned, but you're actually able to create the dynamic lists and the lists that are updated in real time. So anyone who's interested in this bin beyond when I created the audience, right? It's no longer about static audiences that you're pulling and then sending to your BDC team. It's about how do I create these dynamic audiences that are hooked in, via API or whatever to my other platforms so that I can actually constantly just have it run in the background, how to think about it. So that's like a huge step for automotive, a huge step forward. And audiences will play a big part in that.
I would say the other thing is that I would say the other thing on the audiences is I had a lot of conversations with dealers on this as well, is that normally when dealers are pulling audiences right now, outside of pulling getting audiences from like the S&Ps and the experience of that world, normally when you pull an audience, you pull, if I was an agency, I would go in and pull CRM data as the audience, right? I'm going to say, all right, I'm going to do a customer match campaign, or I'm going to do a targeted specific OTT buy or whatever. Now, the problem with that is that the audience data is latent, meaning if I submitted a lead a year and a half ago and I fit the criteria of the audience that I'm now going to pull, there's probably a lot that's happened from when I submitted the lead a year and a half ago or I bought a car up until now, right? So what CDPs allows us to do is to merge that, to take all of the web activity once they're resolved, to see what's literally happening in real time. And to your point that you were making earlier, is that you can now cut that down, meaning you can be very targeted in terms of the audiences that you have and spend less money. Same thing with direct mail or whatever. I can now spend less money because the data is that better. And what we just rolled out at NADA, which you just hit on, is we can syndicate those audiences out, right? You can send those to whomever you want. So it's a really powerful,
Yeah, I think this year we're going to see a lot of that in automotive, and marketing will really, the whole face of marketing is going to change for automotive this year because of dynamic audiences and just in general open APIs and more collaboration and more data access. So looking forward to it. Mike, you here? Did I lose you?
I'm here. No.
We're going back to 2023? Awesome. Okay, well, it's 5 o'clock somewhere. I'm supposed to be drinking wine, but we did this a little bit earlier this time. So next time we'll drink wine. You'll have your coffee. It's even too early for your coffee at this point. Thanks so much. We'll catch you later.
See ya.